Hello there everyone, Mr. Entirely Disappointed here today to talk about the Ogryn HEAVY STUBBER. I've been getting a lot of comments on my videos as of late and my streams saying, hey, Mr. E, you did a video on the Relic Blade for Zealot, you did a video on the Psyker's Force Greatsword. When's that Heavy Stubber build coming, man? I want to see a build that uses the Heavy Stubber to its fullest potential. Well, here's the thing. Here's the video to explain why that's not going to be possible. And it's because this weapon has next to no synergy with anything in the Ogryn's kit. It serves just fine, I suppose. It's like a backup range weapon, but it is really outshone by the kickback, which should just be used in pretty much every situation instead. The main problem that it has, if you were trying to make a build around it, is it has just a bunch of dead nodes that do nothing for this gun, and even point blank barrage does next to nothing for this gun. So you can't make a build where it is the focal point of it. Like I said before, if you want to bring it into your build where you're a taunt or a charge Ogryn and you want to use it to snipe specials or whatever, that's perfectly fine. My recommendation here, shut up Stephanie, my recommendation here is that you go into the marks here and you choose Ackless. Krork is terrible. I have no idea why this is the default one, but Krork is absolute dog water. It is most effective as like a long-range sniper rifle with crits, so I would probably do a build like this to get something out of it. That being said, even this is not very good, and here I go to explain why. So we got to come here first and foremost where the problem starts, which is with the Ogryn talent tree. And this is where I'm going to say two things. One, please buff Ogryn. Rework Ogryn so that he has better options in his blue nodes and in his ultimates and keystones that don't make it seem like it's very tailored to specifically one or two weapons. As I'm going to make the point several times throughout the rest of this video, there are two weapons that seem to be extremely favored by the way that this whole side of the tree is laid out, and everything else is left to rot. And this happens to be one of those weapons that falls into that rot pile, where it just does not get any benefit out of any of this stuff. Everything else is all the standard stuff you use in every Ogryn build. So what's the point in building around a weapon if it's no different than 90% of other builds? You just slot the weapon in. Okay, the second thing I want to say here is like and subscribe. Appreciate you. All right, let's get started. The two nodes here that do give a benefit to this weapon, before I forget to mention them, are steady grip and mobile emplacement. You will be bracing this weapon while you're firing, so you'll get these benefits. Hooray! What you don't get any benefit out of is point blank barrage. Now, point blank barrage gives a huge benefit to two different types of weapons. One is a fast firing weapon that does not need to reload and stays at relatively close range and strays around while they're firing. And that would be the Ackless Twin Leg Stubber, right here, with this sort of setup. This weapon makes full use of this ultimate because it uses Light 'em Up in order to stack fire stacks on targets, especially bosses, and destroy them in a couple of seconds. It uses Bullet Bravado to replenish 2% toughness for each shot fired, which is a lot of shots fired, so you're like zipping that toughness bar back up. And it gets that nice 25% rate of fire, as well as that reduced brace movement speed because you're bracing while you're firing, so you're just kind of like drifting around while you're shooting at all angles. Pretty cool stuff. The other sort of weapon that really benefits is a quick reloading, heavy hitting single shot kickback build, which has 70% reload speed on it and 15% close range damage, so you can put this right in people's faces and blow them clean off, and you'll reload extremely quickly. You get 10% toughness every time you reload, which is every shot with this gun, instead of getting that 2% for every shot fired. And then you would take Hail of Fire, because kickback, its one weakness is it has no rending. It cannot penetrate armor. So shut up, Stephanie. So you would try to shoot this guy, and it just completely dinks off. But if you shoot him with this, now we're cooking. Like, we can just absolutely decimate these enemies with a little bit of rending. And that is the sort of weapons that are really benefited by point blank barrage. The weapon that isn't benefited by it is the weapon that we're talking about today, which is a weapon that fires slow enough, like this slow, that a 25% boost to its fire speed makes you shoot like this. And you can see firing faster isn't good for this weapon because it makes you go off your target a little bit. But yeah, that's not anything important. Close range damage, well, this is a sniper rifle, so that's right out. And we're probably not moving too much while we're bracing, and we're not reloading because our magazine is 20 bullets deep, so that's out. Then we got bullet bravado. We are firing. We're not reloading, so we don't get that 10% on each reload, and we're firing this fast, so we're firing like this. 2%, 2%, 2%. Like, that's how fast we're getting our toughness, as opposed to regaining like 20% per second with the Atlas Twin Link Stubber. And then Hail of Fire. The only other, oh yeah, right, you can't use Light 'em Up because you're not firing fast, so your burn stacks would fall off before you even get them stacked up. And then Hail of Fire, 30% rending is really useful to kickback because the kickback has no rending. But for an enemy like the Crusher, who's the most effective target for rending, well, we can already penetrate his armor with our critical headshots. If I had done a crit there, I can kill him in 3 shots with critical headshots. I can kill a Mauler in 3 shots with critical hits, probably even with body hits. I don't really need the rending. Sure, it helps. It helps. I can do 2 shots on him instead if I get headshots, but is it really that important? No. So you get something out of it, but all this is just completely dead for this class, or for this weapon. Coming down here, speaking of dead nodes, we've got Pacemaker and Reload and Ready. This is the new location for these nodes. Pacemaker and Reload and Ready are really good with the kickback because Pacemaker allows you to get 25% reload speed if you hit 5 or more enemies with a single attack. That's very easy to do with the kickback. All you have to do is this. Let's see. There's 5 enemies there. Okay, I hit 5 enemies, 25% reload speed. I hit 5 enemies, 25% reload speed. I hit 5 enemies there, 25. Oh, I didn't even need to reload. So yeah, it's that easy to hit 5 enemies with this gun because it has such a large spread and it cleaves. The other type of weapon that can use this, again, is the Atlas Twin Link Stubber or any fast-firing weapon like the Ripper gun. All you have to do is continually hold down the trigger. So like doing this and hitting those 5 enemies counts, and I get that 25% reload speed. As long as you don't let go of the trigger, it counts as 1 attack somehow. So those 2 weapons, again, benefit hugely from this. The weapon that does not benefit from this, again, is the Heavy Stubber. It cannot reliably hit 5 enemies in a short enough time frame because it doesn't have, spray. It can't cleave and hit like a wide cone of targets, and it's gonna be really hard to get 5 enemies lined up just right to get them all hit so you can get that 25% reload speed. And God does it want that 25% reload speed because it takes 5 point something seconds to reload this damn thing. Then we get no benefit from Reload and Ready. Obviously this node is made for the kickback and the rumbler. You reload every time you shoot, so you always have it going. Pretty awesome. Over here on the right side, we've got Unstoppable Momentum, which is just a good node to have whenever you're going for range kills on Ogryn. But Massacre. Massacre is really, really useless on pretty much every Ogryn weapon, and this one is not far off from that. The Ogryn has really poor critical stats on all of his weapons. Here's what I'll show by that. Here's the kickback, right? You might think that, because I've got surgical here, a critical hit must be made a big deal, right? Well, critical hits, instead of doing 1500 damage, you do 1800 damage. That's only a 20% boost. There's really just not that many other good nodes, so I grabbed it there. But yeah, a 20% boost is like nothing. Just for some comparison, weapons that have good critical stats have like 2.5 to 3.5 times damage multipliers when they get crits. So getting a crit on Ogryn weapons is generally not very impactful, so 8% chance is not a very big deal. The Heavy Stubber thankfully does have this critical bonus stat, so it does make its crit jump up to like almost double. It's like 1.8 for a regular crit hit, and then a little bit more than double for a critical weak spot. But compare this to a revolver, which also has that critical bonus stat and gets 3 times damage on a headshot. I don't know why this weapon is so much worse at crit, other than it's an Ogryn weapon, and Ogryn weapons are never good at critically hitting. So yeah, having that 8% crit is like, okay, yeah, 1 out of every 12 shots you will get a critical hit that will do double damage if you hit them in the head. Woohoo! Like that's pretty bad. Yeah, and then we come down here. We've got Burst Limiter Override. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep this short because Lord knows you guys have heard me rant about Burst Limiter Override and how much it blows before. Burst Limiter Override has only eyes for one weapon in the world, and that is the Ackless Twin Link Stubber, or just Twin Link Stubbers of most varieties, but the faster firing the better. That is because it offers you a 12% chance to trigger a lucky bullet. Now, for the Twin Link Stubber, that's happening pretty often. You are firing 10 rounds a second. That's nearly every second you're triggering this effect. And that means that when you trigger this effect, you get maximum firepower. It gives you 200% ability cooldown for 2 seconds. So you're reliably keeping your ability cooldown rolling. With slower firing weapons, if you cannot fire your bullets fast enough, you have a very low chance of triggering Burst Limit Override within the time frame where it's going to keep this maximum firepower rolling. And the Heavy Stubber falls victim to that complex, where I need to be firing at least 8 rounds on average every 2 seconds in order to get this benefit. And let's just see how long it takes me to land the lucky shot here. There it was. Okay, so it took me that long. I got double bullets on the 7th bullet there. It took me that long to get a free bullet. Yeah, so in that amount of time, I did get one trigger of this, but other weapons that fire much faster can trigger it much more easily. The other option is Good Shootin'. And again, Good Shootin' only exists to buff the Twin Link Stubber, because the Twin Link Stubber has this node right here. Ogryns have very poor critical stats. So how do they make up for that and give it Charm Reload, which can keep this thing's ammunition full? Well, they made this little node right here that gives you a guaranteed critical if you get a lucky bullet. So you get a free 12% crit that rolls itself independently and can give you that Charm Reload. For this weapon, however, remember, you're barely getting 1.8 times damage on a body shot if you do get a crit hit. So if you trigger that 1 in 8 chance of getting the lucky bullet and you get the body shot, you'll get almost double damage, but not quite. And if you get the headshot, you'll get a little bit more than double damage. Woohoo! 1 in 8 chance of doing that. It's just about as effective as Massacres, which is to say not very effective. And the real problem is that, like, if you wanted to go for crits, which is probably the only thing that's really good for this weapon is sniping with headshot crits, you would just choose Surgical and choose Deadly Accurate in order to guarantee those crits, and so these things becomes completely obsolete anyway. The other blessings that it has available to it, the other blessings that it has available to it up here are Pinning Fire. For every enemy you stagger, it's only a single target gun, so you can get this one enemy staggered, but it's just generally not that impactful. You are not going to be repeatedly hitting heads in order to get the crit chance. Why would you choose this when you could just aim? Oh, I don't want the slide song, sorry. Or Snow Mountain. Why would you choose this when you could just choose Surgical and get the guaranteed crits? Blaze Away, sure, extra strength spent during continuous fire, but again, firing this weapon continuously is not generally the way you want to play with it, because you'll lose your accuracy and it's supposed to be sniping. Overwhelming Fire is fine, but you have to be hitting targets every 2 seconds. That duration is way too short to be effective. Opening Salvo is okay, 20% strength is something, but really, I mean, the best one here, the best combo here, hands down, is Surgical plus Deadly Accurate. It's the only thing that makes this weapon usable at all for sniping enemies, because it's the only thing that gets its damage to a reasonable level. It makes it do like revolver damage when you have that, or close to revolver damage. So here's the over and under on this. The talent tree is doing this weapon no favors. There's nothing here that that offers anything to this weapon. Is the weapon okay on its own? Sure, you could use it as a backup weapon on on any other setup, but do not make a build around this weapon. Make a build around the Kickback, or make a build around the Ackless Twin Link Stubber, but not around this thing. And if you are contemplating using it as your backup weapon in like your bruiser build, just use the Kickback instead. Because instead of doing something like this, where I'm like, oh shoot, I need to snipe that. Why is my loadout not working? I need to snipe that gas bomber over there. Got him. All right. Instead of doing that, you could just have the Kickback and be like, all right, I need to snipe that gas bomber over there. Got him. And the other people that are standing anywhere remotely near him, got those 4 enemies. got that entire horde. Like, that's the power of the kickback, and I promise you it will be so much less frustrating. You don't even need to aim because of how good this weapon is. If a single pellet hits enemies, it'll just outright kill them. So if you're contemplating using this gun, just don't use the kickback instead, is what I'm saying. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Better luck next time, Fat Shark. The gun needs some work, and the Ogryn really needs some work. Thanks for watching. Bye.